Get a copy. Here is a copy of this. You know that this is just for the roadway, right?
Only for Parkway, yes.
Yeah. Okay. And if there's any details that I missed, let me know. I kind of picked this up from Steve and I could find
Okay,
no digital trail on why this was broken out. So I've had to reach out to
Well-
Lacey a few times and she's been very patient with me.
I can explain that, and there's one reason why it doesn't really need to be broken out. And we could put it back.
We're already here. I say we just
Yeah.
keep it. Yeah. I
Yeah,
need to
and-
do with review timelines
Well,
or something, right?
That and also because Leisure Village, that they're doing that part, they have to have this road in.
Oh, I got you.
And so in case we didn't do all of the Orchards Phase 1,
Mhm.
then we want to, but Orchards Phase 1 needs this too.
Yeah.
So they both need it. So we
Right.
kept it separate in case it had to go quicker. Now I think we could incorporate this into Orchards 1 plat and do it as one plat, but there's no really reason to.
I mean,
The Orchards one's approved.
it's all approved. I think you could combine them into one plat when you guys go to Mylar.
Yeah,
So if that's easier, we can record it as
we'll
one, I
decide
think.
that, yeah, at that time.
And we usually, when anything's a little bit funky, we usually reach out to our legal department too. So we'll make sure there's nothing we're missing there, but
Yeah.
that seems like it would be easier and save you a
That
couple
was
of
the
bucks.
only reason to get started. This was work that has to be done or leisures can't.
Yeah, are you guys getting ready to submit for that one? Cause
Well, they submitted they're on their. There's just a couple of questions Tucker had.
Oh, okay.
And so I don't know who's old, I don't know who,
I think.
I mean,
Felix and
Steve was,
Yeah, he was over I know he was over the rezone and Felix and I have kind of taken up the subdivisions in there, so it'll likely be one of the two of us.
so who has the villas, cause that's in like the final.
Yeah, Felix has got that one.
Okay. And I'm kind of helping them out with that too, just with the water companies and different things. I think everything's pretty much.
Hey.
taken care of.
Do this extra one, but I can recycle it.
Yes.
All right,
But I'd like to go.
Marta, are we ready?
Good, we're recording.
Okay, all right. Well, we're gonna call this meeting to order on the date of March 6, 2024. I reviewed the minutes from February 28th, 2024, and those stand approved. First item on the agenda is LVE011624 and Mr. Lleverino, you're going to be presenting this item?
Yes, that's right. And
Okay.
did you say East Estates, is that right?
Yes.
Yep. Yes, so thank you. So what we have is this considered a small subdivision. And this is, a request to create 2 residential lots that conform to the current zoning standards, which is your 1 acre residential lot. The configuration of these lots conforms to the zoning, the minimum zoning as the standards for the zone. And what the owner has provided to us is all the things needed for final approval, particularly the final subdivision plat, the civil drawings, the final will serve letters for secondary, culinary, and also the sewer connection. The developer is aware, the landowner is aware that annexation into the central reserve district will be required before the plat moves forward. At this point, there are a few comments that will be taken care of from the revised subdivision plat and a couple small changes to the civil plans as well. Staff recommend that East Estates be granted final approval. I have listed here that the subdivision improvements are completely guaranteed financially before the plat is recorded. And if applicable, the developer enters into a monument improvement agreement with the county surveyor's office.
Is Eric Godfrey here?
Yes.
Do you have any comments on the conditions?
So there has been some feedback that we were still wanting to address some concerns with the county. We're preparing some things with our engineer. So we do have additional concerns that we did want to address about some of the requests from the county.
Okay.
So I don't know if those should be done first or if we should.
Yeah, this is your time to bring those up.
Yeah, if you have any issues, concerns, happy to answer any questions.
Okay, there's a couple of, on due diligence on our part, they're at the moment, they're requesting 48-inch pipe there.
Okay.
We wanted to verify with the engineering records that that is what's required at that point in 1800. About half mile upstream, there are several other drainages that merge with that ditch, but where the 48-inch makes sense. We'd like to verify at our point that that's still true. If you follow our ditch up about 1,000 feet to where it meets 3,500, the culvert there is only 36-inch pipe that I've, from my measurement.
Okay.
And that's where they improved 3,500 just 4 or 5 years ago. Like, that's a new pipe there.
Okay.
So that close to our ditch, we'd really like to verify that the 48-inch pipe is necessary at our location as well.
Okay.
Um,
Any other questions you have?
Yes, in the pre-approval meetings, we had addressed that we're putting a road into the property. And our proposal was that we would cover the ditch for the 100 feet adjacent to the near property and where the road needs to go, but leave the remaining ditch uncovered for the time being and save that for further, if we develop that property further in the future. Engineering has requested that we fill that entire frontage. We don't have houses there. It doesn't impact the where we're trying to put the home. So we would also like to defer that until that property is developed further. So those are our two concerns. There were some other comments about a few other things that we were addressing with our engineers about alignments of a couple of things. But those are the ones that we wanted to do some due diligence and verify with on.
Okay. Would you like me to table this until you work those issues out with engineering?
I believe so. I think we'd like
Okay.
to verify that with
Okay.
engineering, because I assume if we go forward, we'd be required to meet the current things that engineering has requested.
Yeah.
Yeah, if that's the case, we would
Okay.
like to table for
Okay.
now.
All right. Well, then I will table this item, give you time to get with engineering and work those things out.
Okay.
All right. We'll table this to, we won't do it to a time certain date. We'll just let them work those things out. So, and then you put it back on the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Felix. Okay, next item on the
Sorry
agenda
about
is
pushing that.
LVR051321 and Riverbend. And Mr. Lleverino, you're going to be presenting this item?
Yes, that's right. Thank you. Riverbend cluster subdivision. This is phase 2 of a cluster subdivision out on 3600 west and roughly 800 south. And this proposal would be the final phase of this development and would also include some open space, the part of the cluster plan, as well as some common area, some pathways, and part of the cluster requirements. One thing that the developer has, actually many things that developer has provided to us in order to be at this phase of final approval is those final will serve letters. So the developer was able to obtain and provide those letters from the culinary water district and the secondary water district, the Hooper irrigation. And this property has already been annexed into the Central River Sewer District. And the phase 1 is pretty much complete. They've already been pulling building permits for it. And I would imagine phase 2 would be in a similar situation. I know that there is some time limitations that are coming up with this phase 2. They would like to get it recorded pretty quickly here, and it sounds like they're on track to doing so. Because it's due to expire in a couple of months. So
I'm sorry. So the recording is due in a couple of months of this.
yes.
Because we wouldn't,
Well, hold on,
Okay.
I gotta have your name for the record. and
Oh,
all that
all right.
stuff. So
All right.
let's wait a second. You'll have it.
Oh,
Time's up.
I'll wait till everything's done anyway.
Okay.
All right, shut up.
No, you're good.
I came to control these two upstairs. They don't know what caused the problem.
Yeah. And so, yeah, one thing that's important with these cluster developments is that the appropriate amount of open space is preserved with each phase, and that's what this plan does. It does just that. And so, looking at also what was submitted for review to the county is those civil plans. They're already on their second round of review, so I would imagine at this point the civil plans are pretty much ready to go.
Okay.
Yeah, we've addressed every comment. that
Hold
we
on,
had.
I gotta make
Oh,
sure I
I'm
have your
sorry.
names for the record, so.
Sure. Ed Grant,
Okay,
GRAN 2 Ps.
okay, all right.
Thank you.
Wait.
Appreciate it.
This is kind of a formal meeting.
Yes,
it's
sir.
Somewhat informal too, but, so.
I got it. Thank you.
So listen.
Sorry.
And so, yeah, just moving on to the staff recommendations for this. So staff recommends final approval of Riverbend Cluster Subdivision Phase 2. And with those conditions listed in the report, mentioning the monument improvement agreement. And also the cost estimate for the remaining improvements, and must include the landscaping and common area improvements. The subdivision improvement agreement is recorded with the final plat, and the final conditions from Taylor water agreement are satisfied. I would imagine they've already taken care of those because they're going to have final rules from Taylor. So that fourth one might not be applicable.
Okay.
That wraps up what I had.
All right, okay, Ed.
No, I really don't.
Comments.
I agree with everything that Felix has said, so I think we're good and we're ready to get it approved.
Okay. I got no questions.
I guess is it the issue you just talked about?
Yeah.
Well, okay, we got an approval from, I think you were granted us approval for another year to record the plat.
Yeah.
And that was last year, that you gave us that approval, and I think that approval was good for a year, and so it's in July or something like that.
That's phase one,
Yeah,
phase
that's
two.
Pardon me?
It's phase two.
That's, both phases had to be, phase one has already been recorded. So phase two, there was a time limit built into the code. And you gave us, an approval to go until July, I think, or August
sounds
or
right.
July or whatever it was.
I think
But here's my thing is, to the extent that you want to address that, I think we ought to do it the way we did last time and just have it be a separate issue that we chat with you about, or Rick. And explain, I think like we did last year, we sent you a letter explaining some of the, challenges and delays and stuff like that. So, and I don't, to me, that's not anything that needs to happen now. I think that should be done separately after the final plan is approved.
Okay, okay,
I'll verify on that exploration. Just to make sure.
perfect, thank you. Did you have any other comments?
Steve Anderson.
Thank you.
I still have an issue. By the fact that, July would be at least too soon for us because we won't be completed with. We want to be far enough along with construction, so we are only escrowing what is needed.
Yeah.
Basically, so we can start, when we record the plat, we want to start building immediately. But maybe there's other agreements you already have with Nelson Home and other stuff. I don't know about it. I'm just here, even though I'm representing the homes, we would, I don't think we would do that recording, but it'd probably be more like August or September.
So are you okay proceeding for approval of this at this time, or do you want to
Yes,
get that?
we're okay,
taken care
and
of?
we can, because if worse comes to shove, we'll record it July. That's all that, and do what we, that's.
Okay.
I think the county, our history with the county has been that you've been very fair about this.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll see all kinds of progress and that type of thing.
Yeah,
It's something we can, we can address.
To me, that's a separate issue.
Okay.
The plan, that's the time limitation that's in the code. So,
Yeah.
And
Okay.
we've still got a few months to work that out.
All right. Okay, all right, then I will, recommend approval of this with those conditions and findings outlined in the staff report. And this item stands approved. So.
Thank you.
Felix, he was great, getting all, we had to get all this. We were jumping, getting all this stuff in the last 2 weeks and. You got it?
You guys, you have any questions?
Thanks.
I appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for Felix's.
Felix, very
Helpful.
Thanks, Felix.
Yeah, you guys wanna come chat after for, you can?
Okay, next item on the agenda is LVT 102323 with JDC Ranch Phase 1. And Miss Aydelotte, you're gonna be presenting this item?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna read just a little bit from the staff report, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's great.
This is a request for final approval of the orchards of JDC Ranch Phase 1, specifically the right of way called JDC Parkway.
Okay.
This is located in the R3 zone that consists of approximately 2.431 acres and includes a roundabout. A little history on the surrounding development. In July, in July of 2023, the application for the Orchards Phase 1 was accepted in for review. On September 19th of that year, Western River Planning Commission granted preliminary approval, and on October 3rd of 2023, the County Commission granted preliminary approval. In January of this year, the Orchards Phase 1, that includes the lots portion of this, was granted final approval administratively. I want to discuss this particular right of way. There is a development agreement tied to this area. And the development agreement outlines the road cross sections, what we like to see in there. And I've included that as exhibits and discussion in the staff report. So I'm going to read a little bit of this here. I believe it erroneously states 80 feet in width in one portion. This is an 83-foot wide right of way.
Okay.
It does include a roundabout with a landscape area. Let me just kind of outline what this street cross section looks like.
Okay.
It does include a 7-foot landscape area, a 10-foot wide concrete walk, 5-foot park strip on one side and a 5-foot walkway, and 4-foot park strip on the other. It also includes 52 feet from top back of curb to top back of curb. We would, when this is developed, we would ensure that this follows the development agreement and the standards that are outlined in there. This has been reviewed by the Planning Division, Engineering Division, and Weaver Fire District. And I believe the right of way was separated from the Orchards Phase 1 simply because of timing.
Okay.
With some of these phases. A question that was posed before the meeting started was whether or not in the end, when we go forward, if they can just include this right of way within Phase 1. Otherwise, they can include 2 separate Mylars. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I can find that out from legal. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, where it's recorded, this doesn't talk about, let's just look here. They might be able to.
Okay, the Orchards Phase 1 hasn't recorded yet. They've
It
just been
hasn't?
given their final approval.
Okay, we
Right.
might be able to include this with that. Yeah.
So staff would recommend approval based on what's outlined in the staff report and the findings shown in the staff report. We don't have any additional conditions of approval at this time.
Well, you're not Brian.
I'm Mark. I'm Brian's dad.
Yeah, that's kind of.
I'm Mark's son.
Do you guys have any comments?
The only thing I would say is on the 10-foot walkway that's on the east side.
Okay.
It's not gonna be straight, it'll meander. I just wanted to, I don't think the development agreement addresses it one way or the
It
other,
doesn't.
but as it does that with the definition of park strip, the sidewalk's gonna peel away from that, and so from We just want everyone to be aware that
It's gonna meander.
it's gonna meander, and as it does, technically, the, whatever you wanna call the park strip area, that 4.5 feet or whatever it's going to be, will be there, but landscaping wise and everything, it'll be, you know, it'll be different than typically you would see on a street, on the streets.
Are you okay if I put that as a condition so that it's not questioned
What
down
is
the road? That we allow for the sidewalk
I will.
to have a meandering effect?
Yeah.
All right, I don't see any problems then.
I do have a question, just to clarify. When we look at this cross section here. We've got a 5-foot, future 10-foot concrete walkway here. You've got 7 feet of landscaping and 5 feet of park strip. Is this going to meander in and out of the landscaping area?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, into this,
Yeah.
does
I
it
gotcha.
go,
So we'll have a consistent park strip.
Well,
5
is there
feet.
places we want the trees though, all right there, like behind the top back to the?
when you look at this, we want it to make it feel like the meandering walkway is going through a landscape area, and not have it like, okay, well, here's the park strip and then there's this. It's gonna be an integrated landscape design. And so I think the main reason for that is the trees may not be, lined up like soldiers. They may be on both sides of the walkway. I think you'll be really pleased with how that will ultimately end up looking.
I mean, it sounds like it
Okay.
sounds like.
I don't see an issue with that. Any other concerns that you gentlemen have?
In other words, we just want to make it architectural pleasing, but they'll,
Sorry,
we'll
your
kind
name for the
of,
record.
Steve Anderson, I'm
Sorry.
sorry. Steve Anderson of Wilson Homes. Yeah, it'll be architectural pleasing, but we would just kind of, once we agree with the landscape architect and everything, we'll just have them
Give them plans.
the plan. And then also the bonding of it.
Yeah.
If we could bond for all this landscape, and we have to bond for it, 'cause this isn't public.
Yeah,
So if we could bond for it separately from the other bond, because some of this landscaping, we don't want, some of these trees, we don't want planted in these developments until after, right, the very last thing. I mean, the roads will be could be in for a couple of years already before
Yeah.
some of these, but we don't want that landscape bond tied to the other bond, it keeps going, our 1-year warranty period on like the roads goes out 4 or 5 years because we don't have a tree planted.
We did that with the park. I think it's part of the plan.
Yeah, the parks.
Orchard is one, but the park bond, we wanted to make sure, and I think it was approved that way, that the landscaping for that would be bonded for at the same time. It's just separated so that we could manage it in such a fashion.
Or the
Yeah,
same
I-
bond with language in it.
yeah, I don't think that's a problem to have separate bonds. That we've done that before, so that and typically that's something you can just work out with engineering on.
All right,
So,
okay. Because even the same bond, but except has language in that, the last tree planted isn't gonna count towards your,
We just want to,
the 1 year doesn't start after the last
Yeah.
trees planted.
yeah.
we want to make sure though in the approval that if engineering chooses to be a little more restricted, very nice, that this would govern. That the fact is that, approval is that we can.
Yeah,
And working out the amount and the timing and all of that and the form of it, I don't have any problem doing that. Okay, but I just want to make sure that they get some guidance that this is the way we're going. JDC is such a big project. Just the landscaping alone on this little piece is over $500,000.
what I'll do is I'll make it a condition that it be worked out with some flexibility per legal department approving it there. So.
Sure.
Okay, all right. Any other comments?
No.
Okay, all right. Okay, did you get all that, Martin? Okay, all right.
Way to go.
Okay,
And I was say with the recording of it, we'll do it ever easiest for the county to, whatever, if that makes it better, we record one plat and find together or not. We'll work that one out with them.
We're actually building them simultaneously.
Yeah.
okay. you have any questions, Tammy?
No.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna recommend approval of this, subject to the findings outlined in the staff report with, two conditions that the sidewalk be allowed to be meandering. And that will be negotiated, through the planning and engineering department. And with the developer, and that the bond be posted, but allow them to have separate bonds subject to legal department approval on that. And that's time to approve. So, get that, Marta?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. This meeting stands, sorry, yeah, it's not here. Meeting stands adjourned. So,
Thank you.